Star Wars Outlaws has finally made its debut, and we have a lot to talk about in today's video. We're going to be reviewing Star Wars Outlaws. I've had my hands on the title as I got early access. Thanks to Ubisoft for providing me early access to Star Wars Outlaws. I've played this game for I don't even know how much time. I took some days off work so I can grind this out and really come to grips on what this game's all about and try to create a good review for you guys. This is going to be very neutral. As you guys know here on the channel, we like to keep things pretty neutral. I'm going to tell you what's good, I'm going to tell you what's bad, and I'm going to tell you a little bit in between. But without further ado, let's get straight into it. So first off, let's talk about the introduction to the game, the world building, and the characters overall. The game really does set the pace early on about who your character is. You are a scoundrel out in the galaxy, and you do not have a name for yourself, and you're working your way up. You do feel pretty isolated in the early hours of the game, and it really does show. You're going to be meeting so many different characters across the galaxy, whether they are main story characters or other smaller side characters that don't have much significance, but do provide you with a lot of feedback when it comes to what you're going to be doing, how you're going to be doing it, giving you tips, giving you extra contracts, giving you special items and unlockables and things like that. But they really do a pretty good job with building up the idea of you being a lone outlaw at the beginning of the game with no syndicates backing you up and nothing to your name. The voice acting is pretty well done, as well as the way the characters' animations appear against the voice actors. It does seem like there are a few hiccups here and there when you see these characters talking. The lips are not in sync and things like that. But overall, I really did started feeling some things for these characters and really wanted to hear and see about their progression and how they're going to tie more into my story. Are they going to go against me eventually? Are they going to be my friend to the end? I do not know. But it was very interesting to me to find this out. You're launched straight into Toshara, and this is where your adventure begins. You're going to be jumping on your speeder, driving around, and going to the planet's main city, Mayagora. This is a super bustling city, and straight away, guys, all the worlds in the game, they are varied in size. They do have a lot of depth. Toshara is definitely a massive planet. It makes sense because it's the first planet you go on. But these planets, when you open up the map, you're going to see that they don't look as open. They don't look as big as you would think. But these planets have layers. There's cave systems. There's underground tunnels in the cities. There's places that you can go up high, like mountain ridges. And so the map doesn't really showcase it, but these worlds have different layers to them, and there is a lot of depth to it. Even on the outside of the map, where you can't generally just walk to, you will eventually be able to get to certain areas that are outside of the map zone that are either a tunnel system that take you there, a completely different area that a story mission will take you there. So the worlds are actually pretty big, and they do feel lived in. You're going to be walking around, people are going to be talking shit to you, people are going to be making deals, you can gamble with other people are going to be committing crimes, and as you're cruising around, there's animals, there's predatory animals that you'll see attack the Empire or different factions. You could choose to help or just watch it happen. You yourself can get attacked. So the worlds do feel lived in, and graphically, I think they did a pretty good job. I accidentally was playing in cinematic mode for the first like 5 hours of my gameplay. Don't know why I was doing that. When I cranked it to full screen, got my resolution proper, I do not know how I made that mistake. The game really opened up in the way it was graphically. The worlds here are done pretty well, from the landscapes, the way the plants and trees move with the different weather systems, the wind, the snow, everything is done pretty well, especially for a Ubisoft title. So overall, the worlds are great. I think they're big enough, and outside of each planet has its own space section. So if you fly out of Toshara, you are in Toshara's outer rim, and you can fly around, and there's different point of interest, different space stations to go to. But if you leave planet side on another planet and you go up to the outer rim, you're gonna find that you're in a completely different space area with different POIs, different things to do. So not only do these planets have their own map generally when you're there, but they also have their own map when you're up in space. Now the space map is a lot smaller to the actual planet's map, but it is good to see this diversity, and there's a lot going for it with, you know, the space combat and the space exploration is not just this one linear thing and you jump to a different planet. Each planet has its own, so that was super interesting to see. Once you've progressed your way through Toshara, you're going to be opened up to have the ability to access any of the worlds. The game will kind of give you an audio cue telling you what world they recommend you to go to, which is what I did. The next world would be Kijimi, but at that time you can go to any world you want. Now I'm a big fan of Ubisoft titles, but one thing that I think they did really well with Star Wars Outlaws that I really hope they carry forward into their other games. Ubisoft games are known for, when you go to an area, your map gets absolutely cluttered with objectives, cluttered with things to do, little puzzles, little side quests, side NPCs to talk about, rare items on the map to find. But in Star Wars Outlaws, the only way to actually get these is whether talking to people in cantinas, talking to them around town, doing missions for them to then give you intel. Once you get this intel, you're going to be able to see those icons on the map pop up. And I never felt overwhelmed when it came to the amount of things that I had to do. I thought it was just enough. You go to a city, you start talking to people, you know, you're walking around, you're kind of interacting and trying to see how the town is. And then you start getting intel. You find different data drops as you're exploring back alleys. And then when you leave the city, you realize, oh, I have like 6 more objectives out here to do, whether it's a treasure hunt, finding different parts, different gear, different apparel. It felt like the progression was done pretty well, not only from a story standpoint, but as well as all the side content. I didn't feel overwhelmed. I didn't feel underwhelmed. Just driving around these planets on your speeder is unreal. From enemies coming after you and attacking you to the Empire coming after you, the wanted system. You can get the wanted system up to 5 and you'll have a death mark on you, and a death squad will come, and it's a huge event confrontation that you have to handle. They're really high level enemies. You can also pay off officers, corrupt officers, to take your bounty completely away. Riding around in your speeder is insane, and later on you're going to be getting upgrades where this thing will go insanely fast. Like, it is unreal how fast your speeder is, and just flying around the map when it's sunset is absolutely beautiful. I think this is one of my favorite moments so far, is just all of a sudden the sun started setting and I'm flying around and these guys are following me, and you just see wildlife, animals grazing on grass. You see the Empire walking around with their AT-ATs and you're just mobbing through, and then you fly off a huge cliff. You're doing jumps. So it is super, super fun. Another big aspect is a lot of the traversal and how you're going to be getting around. There's a lot of puzzles, a lot of different ways to activate doors, activate things in the environment, climbing insanely high structures or cliffs, using your grappling hook and things like that. So a lot of it is going to be like traversal puzzling, trying to figure out, how do I get past this area? How do I open this door? You're going to be using Nyx's abilities to aid you in this. So there is a lot of puzzling in this game, and they're done pretty well in my opinion. Some of them got me a little bit frustrated because there wasn't really a clear-cut way to do it. And inside content with treasure hunts and things like that, I'll get really far in a treasure hunt only to realize I didn't have the right piece of gear, but that was totally my fault. Didn't have the right piece of gear to actually activate the final door, whether this is a blaster upgrade, specific tool like a fusion cutter, or just different items, different kinds of grenades and things like that. I do feel like the gunplay in the game and the combat is pretty well done. I will say, from at least my experience, the way I kind of play the game and the way the game is kind of laid out, I think there's a lot of infiltration missions where you have to take over huge syndicate camps, strongholds, or Empire strongholds. Some of these missions make you do it stealthily, and if you fail, you get set back pretty far. There's not a lot of checkpoints in these main missions, so if you've spent like 15 minutes doing a infiltration stealthily and then you get caught, you don't even have to get killed. You get caught, you're gonna get set back pretty far, usually to the beginning, and you start all over. But this game really feels like it kind of pushes on the whole idea of stealth. Now, there's weapons you can pick up. There's plenty of different weapons. There's about 20, 30 different weapons that you can find on the ground depending on what faction you're fighting, what planet you're on. You're going to have access to different weapons that the enemies dropped. But overall, you're really going to be using Nyx's abilities to help you disable alarms, open vents, solve puzzles, distract other enemies, attack enemies. The whole idea is really going through these areas stealthily, trying to get into the nitty-gritty of these places. And the thing is, there's a lot of buildings that you can enter and a lot of back alleys and vents. So you might go into a base and you just kind of see it from its surface level, but this base could have a huge tunnel system. It could have a huge vent system in it that you can go through, find secret rooms, secret areas. There's plenty of ways to take on these strongholds. It's very Ubisoft style, kind of like with Far Cry when you're taking out outposts, but it's a little bit different in this sense. It's a little bit more fleshed out in my opinion. Far Cry's more so go in, kill a few guys, disarm an alarm, and you're done. This has a lot more to it. Now, when it comes to gear and upgrading, it's a pretty basic system. A lot of it has to do with crafting materials that you're going to get either from buying from merchants, finding in the open world, or from infiltrating strongholds. There's materials that are more rare than others that you can only gain through vaults, which is the game's hardest caches to unlock, or through story progression. Once you have these materials, as well as finding a specific character who specializes in this kind of upgrade, you're going to be able to apply these upgrades to your speeder, your ship, as well as your weapon. Now, when it comes to the blaster, you're going to have multiple different modes that you can change on the fly. Each of these have about 4 tiers to them, so there's a linear progression per category for your blaster. blaster. It's pretty basic, but I think it's enough. It's not too overwhelming because at the end of the day, this is really story heavy title. It's not here for getting different gear or getting different weapons. Clothing and apparel are the same, whether that's for Nyx or yourself. You're going to find different items in the world from doing caches, treasure hunts, or you're going to buy them off of high level NPCs if your reputation is good enough. And these pieces of gear are either going to just apply a visual difference to your character, or they're going to give you bonuses. If you find a whole set and you apply them, you also get an additional bonus. This is like extra carrying capacity for health items, extra grenades, more ammo when you pick up special weapons off the ground from enemies. You're also going to have abilities that you can unlock. These are either done passively through story, but some of them are locked behind doing specific criteria. Now, I love when games do this, when they give you side objectives that you passively can do, like do 30 stealth takedowns with Nyx, jump your speeder over a 70-meter jump, and these criteria will progress a specific challenge associated with an upgrade. And these upgrades are like the ability to have more health, unlocking new abilities across the board, whether that's from you or Nyx. I highly recommend you guys really taking a look at this when you jump into the game and really focus on these, because these are kind of not explained all that well. You kind of have to just find them on your own. These are going to be obtained different syndicate faction leaders and other main characters you see around the world. Some are going to specialize in speeder upgrades. Some are going to specialize in Nyx upgrades, gear upgrades, ship upgrades. And once unlocked, they all apply and they're passively used. These are going to be your biggest upgrades in the game, in my opinion. Now, the syndicate system is pretty simple, but it does weigh a huge difference on the way the game is going to work and the way you're going to approach certain missions. Depending on your reputation, not only are you going to get massive discounts as well as specific bonuses based on your reputation, but you're also going to have the ability to unlock certain fast travel points as well as easier access to certain locations that these syndicates run. So certain missions are going to be easier than others. If you're not in good standing with a faction and you have to go to a specific base or infiltrate a specific area for a main story quest, it could either be very difficult and you have to do it stealthy, or you could just walk right in the front door, nonchalant, no one's noticing you, and do what you need to do. So it's pretty interesting the way they laid this out. And throughout the game, fast travel points are going to be unlocked, and then they're going to lock themselves based on your reputation. If you're really good with the Ashiga clan, you can fast travel over to their base on Toshara and you'll be fine. You have that fast travel point unlocked. If you have a bad reputation with them, that fast travel point is now going to be locked for you. The system is pretty simple, and it's not really gonna play too much of a big role when it comes to the story. I personally sided with Crimson Dawn for quite a bit throughout the story, but I also made decisions that made it fluctuate. I lost my discounts with them, but it was totally fine. And each vendor is gonna offer different sets of gear as well as different upgrades. So alongside the side quests and the story quests, you're gonna be able to do contracts with these syndicates that can help you raise their reputation, so you can get those discounts. Once again, these contracts are pretty simple. Some of them are very high risk. If you try to do them and you fail the first time, you cannot do them. You have to wait a period of time for it to unlock once again. So some of these are really high level. Some of them are pretty simple. They're fetch missions. Some are infiltrating big bases. Get a specific piece of high level tech for the factions. But overall, I think the balance of the factions is done pretty good. And you really can see it in the story, and you can see the way Kay is kind of balancing being a new scoundrel and trying to figure out and navigate this whole new underworld lifestyle, and it really shows in the character building. One thing I really want to touch on is the mini games they have. There's about 5 of them. There's 2 arcade games, which are pretty fun. And there's horse racing. And there's this street mini game that I haven't played yet. I haven't unlocked it. I've seen it on my map, but I haven't had the ability to actually play it because it's locked away. The biggest one for me is Sabak. I have probably played over 2 hours of just Sabak, and it has been an absolute blast. Like, I went through the high roller tables on the different planets, working my way up, and you have to beat each of these high rollers in succession in order to unlock the other one. There's also other criteria, which is super fun. Trying to sneak into these high roller events, play them for goods. You can play them for special items for your ship, for your speeder, your blaster, whatever it may be. I love Sabak so much that I really want to see if they make the actual card game, and I want to convince my friends and family to play with me. Are they gonna play with me? Probably not. I can honestly sit here and be like, what are you doing today? I'm gonna just play Sabak. I'm gonna load up Star Wars Outlaws. I'm gonna just play Sabak. That's all I want to do. Won't even play the game. To me, playing Sabak in the game is a completely game of itself. And I don't know if you guys have ever played Sebek. Like, I know the card game exists, I think, but it is insanely fun. There's a lot of strategy to it. It's pretty simple, but it's just fun to hear all these quips and all these quirky things from these NPCs that you're playing against, eliminating players, getting high rollers down, and getting collectible items, as well as a lot of cash. Overall, from my standpoint, I think Ubisoft definitely delivered with this title. Is it 100% Star Wars? Not really. It has its own twist on it, but we know that due to interviews with Lucasfilms as well as Ubisoft saying that this is going to be very close knit to the canon of Star Wars, but they're going to add their own twists. You know, they have different creatures and new characters that have never existed in the Star Wars universe that are in this game because they wanted Ubisoft to have that creativity, and I'm completely fine with that. There's a lot to see and do here. This game is filled to the brim with content. It is a Ubisoft title, but it is dubbed down a lot when it comes to these fetch quests and all these other things that accompany a Ubisoft title. But in the end, I think the game is super fun, and for a single player game in a field of multiplayer games that are coming out, I think they did a really good job, and I'm honestly putting this at the top of my list for launches of 2024. This is how much I love this game. Is it absolutely amazing from a story point of view, from a character point of view? Maybe not, but the amount of things you can do just cruising around in your speeder, infiltrating bases, mini games, flying around in space, it is done pretty well in my opinion, and I'm having an absolute blast. If you guys enjoyed this video, please drop a like on it and subscribe for all things Outlaws. I appreciate every single one of you. Let me know down in the comments below. Are you guys going to get Star Wars Outlaws? What did you guys think of this review? Did I do a good job? I hope I did. I hope I put as much information as I could in this review because I've been playing the game a lot and I've been having a lot of thoughts about it, and I've just been excited and really taking my time and enjoying it. It's like one of the first games in a while where I kind of took it slow and really kind of enjoyed everything that the game has on offer. And I'm going to tell you guys right now, I have so many hours into this game and I still have so much to do. There's still so much to do, but I don't feel overwhelmed. I feel excited to jump back in and continue playing. Let me know down in the comments below, have you pre-ordered Star Wars Outlaws? Are you going to get it? Has this review swayed you one way or the other? Let me know. I appreciate every single one of you guys. And as always, stay happy, stay hyped, and have a beautiful day.